Welcome to Vuk Talks, the show that speaks to education, health, entrepreneurship, and so much more.
Dumelang and welcome to Vuk Talks, the podcast that amplify, build, and connect. My name is Lisiba Matapo, and I'm not alone today. I've got a very beautiful guest here with me. We are going to talk about everything aviation. Hi, Sibongile. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. So today we're talking about aviation. Can you tell us a little bit how you came into this industry? Okay.
Okay, so I work at a company called ATNS, Air Traffic and Navigation Services, and they are responsible for all of South Africa's airspace. Actually, 10% of the world's airspace. What I do is I'm a data officer under the AIMU, which is Aeronautical Information Management Unit. We're responsible for information that any aviator would need. I came into this profession because I wanted to try something different. Coming from the traditional careers, I tried accounting, I tried teaching, and I was like, okay, maybe I need a little bit more excitement. And then when the opportunity came up to actually come into ATNS, that's when I decided to grab it, and I got in, and the aviation bug bit me.
So then what sparked your interest as being an AIM officer?
I'd say that aircraft are just amazing.
Of course.
When I drive out of the center, to this day, I've been in the company 10 years, but when I see one driving over the bridge, I'm still in awe of the size, the majesticness of an Airbus. It's just incredible.
Okay. So can you tell us what South Africa don't know about the AIM? Okay.
So AIM, Aeronautical Information Management, deals with any information that an aviator might need. Okay, so we've got dynamic information, so that's information that's constantly changing. So if a runway is closed for some reason, the aviator would need to find out immediately. So AIM is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you never know when something might happen, and it's very, very important in regards of safety that the information is made available immediately. So you've got your flight planning. They are the ones that help the pilot to plan their flights, to decide that I'm going from OR to Cape Town, I want to leave at this time, I'm going at this level, all that information that's then used by the ATC. And then, so that's one of the areas of AIM. There's 4 in total. The second area is the Aeronautical Telecommunication Network. So they are responsible for making sure that I'm not a technical person, but making sure that things work. Okay, so that if a message is being sent, it actually gets where it needs to be sent. So they monitor the channels. And then we've also got the NOTAM office. They're the ones that send messages to the aviators of when things actually happen. And aviators, it's their responsibility to brief themselves prior to taking off. So prior to flying, they must brief themselves with the information. And then the fourth area is called dynamic data. And they are responsible for putting the information into the system. And that's the information that gets used by all the stakeholders.
So within these 4 aspects, so which one are you actually directly involved in?
So I'm involved in the static data. Okay, so currently I'm a data officer, and we make sure that the aeronautical information publication, which is basically a book that the aviator will be using to prepare his flight,
Yeah.
we make sure that the information in there is accurate. We have to collect it, we process it, and we distribute it, that everybody who needs it has access to it.
So static data, is it data that does not change or throughout the day, or does it change probably monthly, or how does it change?
Okay, so your dynamic data is the one that changes more often.
Yeah.
Your static data stays the same over a longer period of time.
Okay. And that is the information that pilots and air traffic controllers use on a daily basis.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So what does an AIS day mean to you?
AIS Day. Okay,
It's
so
an so
AIS, Aeronautical Information Service. Okay, so that's the day which we get to celebrate our career.
Yeah.
It means a lot because on a daily basis, you're so focused on your work, on doing what you need to do, that you need a day like this to actually look back, reflect on how far we've come, what we've achieved, and actually celebrate, and give ourselves a pat on the back.
Okay. Please describe a typical day of an AIM officer.
So in the AIMU, they work shifts. So if you're working a morning shift, you might be working from 6. You'll be working from 6 till 1 o'clock, which is a 7-hour shift. If you're working an afternoon shift, it would go from 1 o'clock until 8 in the evening. And night shift would go from 8 in the evening until 6 the next morning. That's 10 hours, but then you get the next day off. So your days will never be exactly the same. So it depends which shift you're working. If you're working the morning shift, it means, well, for me, it meant waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting ready, get out the house, get to work. And then when you get to the office, make yourself some tea, and you get handover from your colleague. So our environment is such that we don't take work home. So when I come into the office and I ask my colleague what's been happening, they'll tell me, and they can go relax and not think about work for the rest of the time. So depending on the handover, then I'll know what I have to look out for. Otherwise, then it's like a call center type of environment. We process the information that comes in. So if a pilot needs to file a flight plan, or if somebody needs help accessing a pre-flight briefing, then we would help them with that. Or if a NOTAM needs to be issued by one of the aerodromes to say, something has happened with the taxiway, maybe a taxiway is closed, then we would receive that information and then be able to process it. So the typical day is actually very busy. It's quite an intense environment. You have to stay on top of your game. But the company has made it such that they cater for the individual holistically. So we have restrooms. For example, if you're on a night shift, you can actually go and take a nap. There's beds there available. So this depends on the day. But I must say the best part of working in that environment is definitely the people. Not only do you get to interact with the pilots or airlines or other air traffic service units, so basically the aerodromes who need things from you. All the people you get to interact with, and you learn so much from them. But even your colleagues who have different backgrounds from you, you get exposed to a lot. Especially because it's so specialized. I do something specific, and I will always need somebody else to help me. So we really work closely with a lot of other departments.
And I'm sure that I'm not the only person who thought of this, but now I thought the people who are based in those big towers in the airports, it's just air traffic controllers. It's just until today that I learned that there are people like you, AIM officers. I didn't know that those exist in South Africa. So basically, when you go into those towers, you go into the tower and then you work your shift, or do you ever get to leave the tower during work day, or what happens in the actual?
I just want to say, a lot of people, myself included, before I started working here, I didn't even know that ATCs existed. I didn't know what a tower was, so I think you're further on in terms of the knowledge. So we are based at the tower, right? So the tower is in the middle of the runways. So we're not at the terminal building, which everybody considers to be the airport.
Yes.
We're in between the runways. So we can leave the premises if we need to during a lunch break. There's a shopping center, you can go grab lunch. But yeah, so it's up to the individual if they want to have a packed lunch.
So you're not just locked in those towers until China time.
No, we're not locked in.
Okay. So as an aviation enthusiast myself, because I watch a lot of aviation videos on YouTube. That's how I pass my time, if you guys didn't know. So basically, I tend to overhear certain language that is being used in aviation. So that language, do you also apply that language in your workspace?
Yes. Okay. So we all have to comply with aviation English.
Yes.
Because it's not just South Africans. We're dealing with regional people, even international clients. So subscribing to ICAO, ICAO is the organization that prescribes the rules of how everyone should function. Okay, so we all speak aviation English, and we also have to know the phonetic alphabet. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The military uses it a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So that information can always be relayed correctly, to not have any misinterpretation. Yes.
Okay. And the other question that interests me a lot, we spoke about it when we were sitting back there, that so what happens? Maybe this may not be your direct line of work, but I asked, what happens if, for an instance, an emergency happens, or a flight needs to divert to another airport? How does that work?
Okay. So when a person files a flight plan, they will actually already plan that if anything happens, where will I go? So for example, if I'm flying from Cape Town and my destination is OR, if anything happens, my alternate is Lanseria. So when something happens, they're not like, oh no, what now? They already know what is the plan B. They will communicate with the ATC that, hey, I actually need to land at Lanseria. I need to divert to Lanseria instead of my original plan. And then the ATCs at OR and Lanseria will communicate with each other to ensure that the pilot has a safe landing.
And then in terms of weather, I mean, we know that planes do operate in all weather conditions, but sometimes they do get to divert if perhaps maybe the weather is quite severe. Is it part of your job that you give a weather updates to the pilots?
Okay, so it is a pilot's responsibility to get pre-flight information bulletin and to make sure he's got all his information before he departs. So he can get a report from the Met Office, so South African Weather System is responsible for that, but the ATCs can also give weather reports when the pilots reach out to them.
So to be an AIM officer, what qualifications are required?
Okay, so you need a matric with maths and English. It needs to be higher grade D or standard grade C, or nowadays level 4 and up. And then you apply for the bursary on our website. If you get the bursary, then you'll be able to go study at the Aviation Training Academy, which is also based at the center at the airport. Yes, and then you'll study there for 6 months, and the qualification you'll get is called a core content certificate, and that will then make you eligible to go there, do on-the-job training in the field.
So you will do a 6 months course, and then after that you do is it on-the-job training?
Yes.
And for how long will you be doing that?
On-the-job training, for the first position, which is the flight planning or briefing, that takes about 3 months to do on-the-job training. Yes. And being at the Aviation Training Academy is actually very exciting because it's intense. It's a lot of studying.
Yeah.
It's like test after test after test
Yeah.
in a completely new world.
Mm.
And the company wants to make sure that everybody is successful. So they accommodate you in a lodge, and they cater for all your meals, and they do your laundry, your cleaning, everything, so that you can just focus on the study.
Because I wanted to know, because you say, there's only one school that offers this kind of course, right?
In South Africa, yes.
Yeah.
And the Aviation Training Academy is so incredible what they do, that they are actually providing training for a lot of African countries.
Yeah. So everybody across Africa would come to South Africa, at the same center, and that's why obviously you're gonna make friends in the same,
Yes.
in the aviation as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So in terms of females in aviation, how does the representation look like?
The representation is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Compared to like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you can see dramatically that there are a lot more females represented now.
Yeah.
And the company has made so much efforts as well. At some point there was an empowerment program.
Yeah.
I think it was called the Leadership Development Program for Women. I'm not so sure what the qualification was exactly, but they were really pushing and driving for women to do that qualification.
Yeah.
And even now, our CEO happens to be a woman, so there definitely is representation and support.
No, I definitely I agree, because in South Africa we're pushing for representation of women in the workplaces. We need people to or women to be specific, to work in fields that were mostly, dominated by male counterparts. So yeah. So where does one get more information on ATNS?
You can access our website on www.atns.co.za.
Okay.
Everything about the company you will find on the website, even how to apply for the bursary program.
Okay. So in your final words, what advice can you give to a person who wants to get into this job that you're doing?
I would say go for it. Go for it. There is so much unexplored territory. There's so much opportunity. Especially once you're within the company, they really make an effort to grow you. Currently, if you want to study further, you're welcome to. The company wants to be prepared for the future to remain sustainable. And we can't predict what will happen in the future, so they really want people to explore their passions, because all of that will benefit the company at the end of the day.
So South Africa is marking 30 years of freedom, So what can you say about it?
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
To see how things have changed, how far we've come. And personally to me, it's meant that I'm able to live my life the way that I do. And it also means that my daughter, who's currently 7, will be able to go even further than what I have.
So thank you for honoring an invite to the show. We have learned absolute lot, I'm sure, for most of us. What we didn't know about ATNS, now we know, and I think a lot of us now also know what to do or where to go, and also to take a leap of faith, man. And if you want a career change, this is one of the careers that you can probably, explore. So thank you for honoring us with accepting our invitation. Hope to chat to you in the future, and go well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was brilliant. It was lovely to be able to share about my career with the youth, and I hope to be seeing them soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you, South Africa. Goodbye until the next episode.